a year from now, when they're talking about Charles Johnson going to be challenging for the UFC. Look at the rise of this guy from the LFA, his dominance the last 7, 8 fights. That's what I I hope, and that's what I'm aspiring to, and that's what I'm speaking into existence.
LFA flyweight champion Charles Johnson. It's good to get you on, man. And I want to start with 2020, the beginning of 2020. That's where I want to start. Thailand Fighting Championship 4. You took the boxing match, and you know what's funny? Thailand Fighting Championship 5 is happening tonight. Did you know that?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of a trip, man. How they haven't had a show since then, and we're doing an interview right now. Take me back to that boxing match because you had a extended period in Thailand.
Yeah, John Coon, he does a good job at trying to keep like fights up. In Thailand, he knows the native tongue. He actually can sing in Thai. So, like the promoter, like he's a character in itself. But he loves the fight atmosphere. He loves trying. He's been trying to keep it going. He's one of the few people advocating and trying to keep fighting going throughout COVID and working hard to keep fights going. And even for the Thai people who don't make much money, so it's great to see them back up and going and everything with that. That's amazing. But yeah, that boxing match was great. I hadn't been able to really fight much at all while I was out there. So I got to do a few Muay Thai fights, but I wasn't able to do any MMA bouts. So getting that boxing match was great. 2020, it was I think it was right before like COVID really kicked off and really like stopped everything from moving forward. So
And
yeah.
and before you went to Thailand, you were kind of in like a, I don't know if you want to say a slump in your career, but possibly a slump. You're going back and forth. You had a couple of losses, and then you went there, and after you came back, you just started rolling fulls out. You know what I mean? Like, was there a turning point for you in Thailand, or was there something happening when you got back? What happened?
Um. Well, the slump wasn't really much. I lost to Brendan Royval, but that was a back and forth fight that I felt that I won. But it was a great fight. I didn't fight my best, but I still felt I won. And my other loss to Sean Santella was, in my opinion, it was some home cooking. So, um, you know, uh, outside of those two things, the boxing matches, I was taking a lot of boxing matches because I love boxing. I've been boxing, and I would go in as the B side, but I was fighting blue chip prospects, diamond chip prospects, going all the rounds with them, and not I have never been knocked out in boxing, and it's been like it's 4 round fights, so it's more like a slugfest. And a lot of those fights, I don't even fight at my weight class. I fight at 135 and 140 in boxing, so I'm boxing bigger guys, and by the third and fourth round, I'm able to walk them around the ring, and I'm really starting to get off shots, but it's only a 4 round fight. So I lose decisions or I get draws. And so, but going to Thailand, I was able to just, focus on training and focus on just working on my MMA side of things and sit down boxing for a while. And boxing was just to keep me busy when I was in the States. It was also like quick money. And I always go into fights thinking I can win. I see guys, I'm like, I can box him. So I got good hands. I can go in there. I can handle myself. So, um, but going to Thailand just allowed me to just focus only on MMA and learn Muay Thai and get more. Like when I went there, man, I had no formal training in like any martial art outside of jujitsu, wrestling, and some boxing. Like I wrestled. I was an all-state wrestler, but like I didn't know like as far as my stand-up. I would it's hard to box people who know how to throw elbows and kicks, and I learned those things and I work on them, but it's like learning something from the root is very different. So going to Thailand allowed me to sharpen things and actually learn and do things correctly, and find something that fit me as far as Muay Thai. Within the Muay Thai, find things that fit me and my fighting style that I can add to grow as a martial artist.
That's good to know, man. You educated me on your record, because if you look at your record and didn't really dig deeper, you would know that you were facing blue chip prospects in boxing. You just see boxing matches and, just the red, red color on there. So that's great that you challenged yourself, man, cuz
Yeah, almost every one of those guys was have like winning records or undefeated, like, and they're like big prospects right now. Like one of them's like 13-1, like one of them's like, like they're legit boxers, and so like I don't like hang my head about any of that. I know I can go into the sport of boxing when I'm finished with MMA and do well, because I'm not a 4 round fighter. I'm a championship round fighter. I get better as fights go on, and a lot of those boxing matches wasn't even at 130. None of them was at 130. The only fight that was at 130 was in Thailand. So
you never decided, cuz like there's a boxer, he started out at MMA and he was doing really well in MMA in Australia. His name is Isaac Hardman. Now he doesn't even train MMA. He's strictly boxing. Did that ever cross your mind to just let go of MMA and focus on boxing?
um, a little bit. My boxing when I first got into boxing, this was around 2015, 14, 15. I was home from school, from college track, and I was trying to find my way and stuff, and I was doing a lot of things on my own. And I was in the city of St. Louis, and I found my way into a rec, and I found myself into some hands of a boxing head, an old head, that just knows boxing, not the most, you know, like how would you say it, business savvy, but like boxing savvy, ridiculous, right? And he just wanted me to do boxing only. He was like, "Man, I could take you to the Olympics. Like honestly, man, you're really good." In 3 months, I was throwing my left hand more than my right. I didn't know how to throw my left hand when I walked in there. And so it was just um, things like that that show me like I have a natural instinct to catch on to things really fast, and when I work on them, I just become really good at them really fast. So for a time, that's why I kept dabbling into boxing because I know I can do it. But then it's like I don't really get in a position to win in boxing because I'm been put on the B side. And even when I do win bouts, a lot of those draws were wins, and a few of those losses were wins. Like I had a fight in Rhode Island against a kid, and like I punched him way more than he punched me. I didn't get hit much. I boxed a beautiful boxing match, and they gave him all 4 rounds. And it was a couple guys there that I knew from nowhere. I didn't know them from anywhere, and they had been boxing. They was like, "We've been in this game for 25 plus years, and you won that fight. Man, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great, man. Don't worry about it." So it's just about, staying consistent within yourself and keep sharpening your tools. For me, I decided MMA was the thing because I trained at a jiu-jitsu school for 7 years. I had the wrestling background. I had cross country, and once I started learning boxing, it was like, man, I can do this. And so I get on YouTube as much as possible, and I work hard, I train hard, and I just go learn the things I feel like I need to learn to get better.
Now, when you did get back and started fighting again, 2021, LFA, you hit the ground running, just title fight after title fight. What have you learned about yourself in all of these title fights you've been through?
Honestly, it's more so about that I will be the best flyweight in the world as long as I'm confident. Going to Thailand is the one thing that I can say I got the most out of going to Thailand was confidence. I learned some skill set there, but I had a pretty well-rounded skill set before I got there. And being able to be in a room full of UFC veterans, UFC champions, one championship fighters, Bellator fighters, and going with people, and then guys in the UFC say like, "Hey man, I can't believe you're not in the UFC yet." Like, "You're good, man. Like Charles, you're good." Like just keep at it. And just getting that confidence back and being able to spar with world champions and hold my own. And not every day is great, but not every day is bad either. Some days are great. Like some days I'm like, "Shit, I did that." So it's like that confidence coming back here. I was just ready to go. It was 2 years since I fought, and I was able to see what Brandon Royval did and just use that as inspiration. Like everything he's doing is what I would have done, and I was rooting for him. Like man, like the better he does, the better it's for me. You know, in my opinion, because like I like Brandon Royval. We message each other like I think he's a great kid. I think he's a great guy, he works hard. So it's like I really relate to him a lot in a lot of different ways, you know. So um, we're totally different fighters, but at the same time, you know, his career trajectory and the way that he's done things is just something, you know, to aspire to, in my opinion. So like, I'm like, when I came back home, I was like, I honestly was like, I'm gonna do the same thing he did. I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna go win this belt, you know, and I'm gonna win in dominant fashion. I'm gonna finish people, and I'm gonna go in there and show people who I am. You know, one thing I took from that fight was he, even if he had nerves or whatever, he came to fight and he started fast, and he came out there with confidence. You know, so that confidence is the thing.
That environment in Thailand, especially at Tiger Muay Thai, the mats, the MMA area, upstairs. It's kind of like upstairs, you know what I mean? If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And you go there during sparring, like you could have up to like 60 people there from all over the world, and sometimes you don't know who's who. That environment, it's not something that you see every day as a fighter. How did that how were the nerves? Like, is it different for like from training in the U.S. at smaller gyms for you?
Um, I wasn't nervous at all. I go in there like I own the place. I love it. I love going in there with all those people, getting to go with different bodies, fresh faces. Like when you go around with Peter Yan and stuff like that, you get a little bit nervous, but that's just competitive. That's the competitive feeling. Like you want to work on things, you want to get things done. And you're like hoping you get some rounds in with them. And I was able to do 2 or 3 different sparring camps with them, depending on the opponent, right? Get rounds in with them a lot. So that was great. But um, really, it's just it shows you how big and small our community is with MMA. You know, we're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day. Um, all over the world, all these people. We're so connected though, because I come back home and you see the same people, but you see what they're doing everywhere. You know, and you're rooting for them. You've able to see them and everything, and see what they're doing, and teammates and other people who dropped in that you got to meet. You know, so for me, I love going to practice. Just I love meeting new people. I love getting different people, different looks, but being able to work on things with different people. And it's one of the few places in the world where I actually have people my size that I can train with. You know, like during that time before COVID popped off, it was a lot of people, 135ers, tough goals, you know, they're bigger than me a little bit, but it's like, get used to it, So you got that confidence. Once again, I go back to that. I had this thing in my head about, hey, them guys are 135, and I was like, you gotta be able to fight with those guys too. So yeah.
Now, January 21st, man, the main event, LFA 122. You're facing off against Carlos Mota. What do you know about him? What can you tell me about him? What is your breakdown?
Oh man, he just looks strong as shit. He looks. Um, I fought more explosive fighters. I think Carly Pac-Man was a lot more. He had better quick twitch muscles. He was faster, and more powerful, more pop. But this guy has power. It's just a different type of power, in my opinion. Um, and he's a bully fighter. I've seen him. I've seen that fighter before. But he also does a good job at keeping things fundamental with his jab and his 1-2. It's simple, but he makes it work for him. And he can sprinkle in some dynamic things. But um, I see a good fighter. I see a good guy to fight. That for me, it's all about names, records, and you know I need to be fighting for something. So that's what gets me up. I want to be fighting for something. So when I see him, I see someone trying to derail me from where I'm headed, but I also see a challenge. So I'm excited about the specific things that he can do. He has a BJJ black belt. He And he just looks like he knows he has a well-rounded game, and he looks like, and he has a coach. It seems like that has been in his corner for a while. It looks like he's got a good relationship with his coach, so you can never discount that bond either. So
What aspect of your game do you feel like you're going to be able to show more in this matchup?
I think it's just about showing levels. It's not even anything about my game. It's just different levels to things. Like he's good. And everybody I fought has been good. Honestly, if you go back and you watch them, they fight. They've had great fights. They fought really well. But these past three guys that I fought, you couldn't be able to tell that about how the fight went. And so, in my opinion, what I think people will see most with me is that I'm just well rounded, man. I can do everything, and you know, I say it and I mean it. It's nothing like me. Like when it comes to cardio, when it comes to hands, when it comes to the full package, when it comes to IQ, understanding what's happening in there, being able to make adjustments, being able to, um, if the fight's not going your way, make the correct adjustment and fight inside, outside, on the mat, jujitsu, wrestling, whatever needs to happen, clinch. I can take it there. So I think they'll just be able to see that it's just different levels to this, and this guy's great, but that guy's different.
Where have you been splitting your time for this training camp?
So I've been in Michigan, out here in Simmons Academy of Wrestling at Murcielago MMA. And so I'm getting a lot of collegiate wrestlers, high school All-American wrestlers here. I get great goals with. And then boxing wise, hands wise, my coach comes from a boxing world, so I get good hands work and everything with that. And I train at the HPI. It's a Human Performance Institute out here in Michigan as well. It's just strength and conditioning as well. And so between those three things, I get in everything that I need. Not so much Muay Thai, but I've been doing that for the past 2 years. So I'll be able to sharpen that up as the world opens up a little bit more. I'll be able to go get some pad work somewhere. But um, just consistent work with consistent teammates, and it's just about a grind. I have all the tools at this point. It's just about being consistent and keeping my body going, keep working and working at a championship rate where we're putting in the exhausting rounds where you're pushing yourself like you're in a fight. That's all it is at this point.
The last two of three, you finished your opponents within 2 rounds. What do you expect in this fight?
Um, this fight is it's gonna be a fight, man. I know, I feel it. Like he's definitely gonna come and he's gonna be there for 2 to 3 rounds for sure, in my opinion. But if anybody knows me and has tracked me for my sporting career, when it comes to the biggest moment, I always overachieve. I always do better than what's expected, and I always do what I set my heart on. And so, my last state wrestling match win, my last track race in college, got on the top 10 board for my collegiate for D1 school. My last AAU track race, national champion, almost broke the record. You know, I overachieve. So this fight for me is just, when I step out there, I'm going to overachieve. I'm going to do more than what is expected when you see me. And I believe that I'm going to drown them. I'm going to drown them. I'm going to start off sprinting and see how long you can sprint. When I ran track, I used to draft people. I don't know if you know what that means, but when I started off running, I ran long distance. So drafting is run on their hip and push the pace. Let them take the wind, let them take the wind and everything, and they're running. You stay on their hip, and you push them. You push them, and as soon as they let off, you pass. And if their ego gets with them, you get this for a little bit, and eventually, boom, you're gone, and you take over. And then as I went on in my racing career, I was able to lead start to finish. So now I feel like equating that to my fighting career, I'm getting to the point where I'm able to lead start to finish. And if I'm not, I'm drafting people enough where I can take over in my heart, I know nobody can beat me inside 5 rounds because of that. But also, I just needed to get out of 3 rounds fights. If it's a 5 round fight, you're not gonna beat me. I make too many adjustments. I push the pace too much. You're gonna get tired, and I have too much to offer that no one outside of UFC should touch me, in my opinion. Once again, and so that's what's in store for this fight. Skill set wise, we can talk about what we're gonna do, or it's just about fighting at the end of the day. And you got to push that pace. You got to get in there. You got to be prepared for that fight, and he's gonna bring a fight. And you can't bully somebody who's been through a lot of adversity in life, and mentally they're, you know, you're not gonna be able to bully that type of person. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen when when we get to the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 round minute mark, 12-minute mark, and we're gonna see. In my heart, I feel like that's when the fight's gonna really start happening, and that's when I'm gonna take over.
Where do you want to be sitting at the end of this year?
In position for a UFC title. In my mind, I feel like I'm 3 or 4 fights away from a UFC title. The flyweight weight class is wide open. You go in there, you get a couple great wins, you're in title contention. You get a couple more wins. All right, now they're like, all right, when this guy gonna fight this guy, you know? And I'm gonna be active as possible. So we get through this fight, things go the way that we're planning and the way that we prepared for. We get through this fight, we get called up as we should. The UFC, for me, I want to fight as often as often as my body allows me to, healthily. I'm all about activity. For me, activity means longevity. The more active you are, the more you're in it, the more you're doing it, the more you'll have longevity in it. When you start taking long layoffs, your body starts coming down from that. So I'm always active doing something, something, something. So a year from now, when they're talking about Charles Johnson going to be challenging for the UFC, look at the rise of this guy from the LFA, his dominance the last 7, 8 fights. That's what I I hope, and that's what I'm aspiring to, and that's what I'm speaking into existence.
Yeah, overachieving, like you said earlier, man. Overachieving, right? Um, January 21st, LFA 122 main event, St. Louis, Missouri. Charles, appreciate the time, man, and hopefully next time we speak, you're making your UFC debut.
Yeah, yes, sir. We will. It will. That's exactly what's gonna happen.